In July of 2014, I met my cousin Linda Lambright in Goshen and took possession of all of Uncle Pete's old 8mm movies. When I got back to Colorado, I used my old movie projector and shot the movies into what is called a telekind converter. I then used my latest, greatest Sony HD camera in digital format to record that movie. You saw how smooth this picture was, but on the camera side, there's a lot of film roll. I have 4 old movie cameras and they are wind up and supposedly record at 18 frames per second. New cameras record at 30 frames per second, so it takes a whole lot of synchronizing to get everything equal. Then you have to deal with about 100 broken tapes or film splices pulling apart. My best friend was my movie film splicer. After several weeks, I was finally able to get all 14 tapes on one little SD card. After all this work, I just wasn't happy with my results. Too many blurry spots, jittery spots, broken tapes. So I found a professional film scanner where I sent the film to, and he scanned each individual frame and reassembled them as a file. I finally got the SD card back in digital format, and you can see how fast Pappy is moving there. This clip is 9 seconds long. However, if I drag it out to 13 seconds long, it runs at normal speed and looks a lot more realistic. Pete started filming in 1957 and filmed the Lambrights up through the early 60s. And I so enjoyed watching all his old movies. That just happens to be me, that cute little driver of the tractor with Wayne in the bucket. Uncle Pete did a lot of work in piecing together the old film based on the year and the sequence that they were taken. Linda's outline of the timeline of her dad's movies was in with the box of movie reels. I'm going to switch things around and edit this more in a grouping of events like farming, family functions like Deer Forest, the Toledo Zoo, and yes, Pete even got a selfie there, and Silver Beach. And who can forget all the summer get-togethers at Perrin Lake. And that world-famous Lambright barbecue chicken. I still use that recipe today. Come on, Mary, wait for the rest of us. The Lambrights always worked together, and it seemed like everybody got along. With a few exceptions, of course.
Many today think all our fathers were wrong when they believed Jesus the Master was strong. Heedless, they go carelessly drifting along. But as for me, I like the old-time way. I like the old-time preaching, praying, singing, shouting. I like the old-time way. I like the old-time preaching, praying, singing, shouting. I like the old-time way. Old-time way. Someone is lost on the mountain of sin, looking for help, hoping the life ground to win. Many will say, why should I help take him in? But as for me, I like the old-time way. I like the old-time preaching, praying, singing, shouting. I like the old-time way. The old-time way. I like the old-time preaching, praying, singing, shouting. I like the old-time way. The old-time way. I like the old-time preaching, praying, singing, shouting. I like the old-time way. The old-time way. I like the old-time preaching,
This particular movie was taken in the fall of '57 while Dad was still farming what we called the Sutton Farm. We were still living just north of Topeka. I'm helping him fill an extra corn crib since the crops were so good that year, and he actually didn't buy the Sutton Farm until several years later. These shots were taken on Dad's farm just north of Topeka. He called in Team Lambright to help pour concrete at the hog pens. They actually had a pretty good system going. I even saw Uncle Pete in there with a shovel, so he must have gotten in on the action. Linda's notes said that this is Dottie Amos, and Pete was hiding in the barn taking the picture through a window, and that's why it looks so milky here. This is in the fall of 1958, and that's Fritz up on the roof of the corn crib. Elmer and his $100 bill. Well, the fields were pretty wet, and it looks like Pappy's stuck, so he has to unhook the wagon, and fortunately he was able to get out. While all this was going on, Floyd was taking Donna to the LaGrange Hospital for Kevin's birth on November 15, 1958, and wrecked his Cadillac. Uncle Pete and family was living on State Road 5, just south of where the now defunct Wabash Railroad tracks used to be. It was called the Denny Farm, which was the name of the owner. They decided they needed a new silo. So again, it was Team Lambright to the rescue. That was Johnny, apparently trying to help Linda put her handprint in the concrete. That's Galen Yoder running the mixer, and Elmer is on the tractor. That's Richard on the gravel bins there, and Elmer is up there with him. You may have noticed the Lambrights really like their coffee breaks. Will you guys hurry up? I'm hungry. They make it look so easy, don't they? And that's something you've probably always been wanting to know, is how do I build a silo? You're just getting ready here to watch them set the last piece in place, and then they have to come along and grout all those little joints and sections in. Wayne will be on that top platform here in a second, and he's the one on the left, and he obviously has no fear of heights. Well, the silo is completed, as you'll be able to see here in the background, and that's Wayne again, and they're pouring more concrete. They must be pouring an apron around the base of the silo there, where the cattle will feed. That's Craig, and then Linda and Tammy come through the gate in a little bit.
And all these words that you meant to say, held in silence day after day, words of kindness that our poor hearts crave. Please don't keep them hidden away. Sing it out so I can finally breathe and I can take it.
Dad had purchased what we called the Sutton Farm a few years earlier, and the Lambrights joined in again to get his barn ready for raising hogs. After all those years of milking cows, Dad finally wised up and decided that they tied him down too much. No more cows, he said. Dad borrowed Pappy's pickup truck, and he must be stuck here. He's trying to back up to the house, the new house there. It's the Sutton Farm, with Pete, Elmer, and Fritz all helping with the move. And Carolyn is going crazy with the broom, brushing off the carpet there, along with Betty. You may have noticed the flowers in the truck there when Dad first got out and had the door open. Those were baby flowers. This is November 1961, and Ken was born November 28th. After they moved in, Dad had his big get out of farming sale. You have to admit, Dad was being pretty brave and optimistic having a sale in December in Indiana. I would have been a freshman in high school at this time. During my last 3 years of high school, I worked there at Miller's grocery store, Topeka, IGA, and I'd help Bill behind the meat counter on Saturdays. And I always remember Grandpa Lambright would always come in and almost sheepishly order 2 pounds of bacon. I don't get back to Topeka much anymore now that Mom and Dad are gone. In fact, they even tore the old high school down after I graduated. Topeka just always seems like this sleepy little town, but we all know that times and things change. I called my Uncle Fritz again today to get some more information about Pappy Jake's last day. Pappy had a very severe case of dementia, and Grandma Lambright just wasn't able to take care of him anymore, so he spent his final days at a nursing home in Ligonier. Grandma wanted to have this farm sale, which was held in early fall of 1975. Pappy Jake died about 6 weeks later on October 28, 1975. Thanks to Uncle Pete's old movies that you just saw, we can keep this memory alive. Thanks, Pete.